What I'm about to tell you happened 10 years ago while I was still in high school. Simply put, I was penniless and worked as a paperboy. I picked newspaper delivery as a part-time job because I couldn't work after school, as my younger brother and sister were still little. I would get up early in the morning, deliver newspapers, go to school, and then come home to do housekeeping and make dinner. This was my daily life as the eldest of 3 brothers. I had to go to such lengths while I was still in high school because I couldn't rely on my parents. Due to my father's affair with a first woman, my parents split shortly after the birth of my younger sister. My mother took good care of us, but then she became ill. She was able to make ends meet on welfare, but it was tough to provide enough for my younger brother and sister. To make ends meet, I had to work. In retrospect, I'm not sure why I didn't give up. This was normal for me at the time. I wanted to protect my mother and my younger brother and sister because they were important to me. That was my true intention. Despite all of that, my body was becoming increasingly exhausted. I made my mom cry and apologized to her after collapsing with anemia during PE class and receiving stitches on my head. I'm totally fine, I told my family, but this was probably the first moment I recognized I was exhausted. I was tired, but I could not rest. I was living my life without realizing that I was tired. She was not wearing a raincoat like me, and her clothes were soaking wet. I wondered if she had forgotten her umbrella. As I drove my bike closer to the woman, I discovered something even more startling. The woman was not wearing shoes and was barefoot.
I couldn't leave her alone, so I got off my bicycle and asked, "Are you alright?" He didn't even rush to dodge the rain, and I noticed her strolling slowly, touching the fence. She didn't appear to be in excellent physical shape. I must have startled her since I spoke to her abruptly, and the woman shook her shoulders.
She was probably in her mid-20s. Her short-cut hair was wet and stuck to her face. I imagined she'd been walking like this for a while based on the way her clothes were drenched.
She then said something I'd never imagined. I'm actually blind.
Excited chales, Nexans, and Porty peoples, I had never before interacted with a blind person, and because I had no idea she was blind, I knew I had frightened her by speaking to her unexpectedly. The woman then continued, "I usually walk with a white cane, but I lost it when I bumped into someone while I was walking. Apactions as Kalebactions, I had learned about the white cane in school. It plays an important role for the blind to judge the way on the braille blocks. Now that it was gone, she had to go by groping. No wonder it took so long to walk, soaking wet."
I asked, "Do you remember where that happened? I'll go look for it."
I told her so, but she didn't seem too keen on the idea. She appeared to be speaking evasively. Then I worried if the question was inappropriate for a blind person, so I apologized.
I said, "I'm sorry if I offended you with something I said." She denied it and continued, "Oh, it's not like that. It's just that, I don't think I dropped it when I bumped into that person, but I think it was stolen."
Oh, it's not like that. It's just that I don't think I dropped it when I bumped into that person, but I think it was stolen.
Dolls, yeah.
Actually, I could not have predicted. Anyone can imagine how much trouble a blind person would be in if his or her white cane went missing. So it never occurred to me that someone would try to steal it.
You see, at first I thought I had bumped into someone, so I apologize. But I heard him making fun of me, so I thought maybe I know where it happened, but you probably won't find it there. I was so... I appreciate your kindness, but it's okay.
She said so with a sad smile, but I couldn't just leave her there because I realized something even crueler.
Did that person steal your shoes too?
The woman looked a little uncomfortable again, then nodded her head and said, "My white cane was missing, and in my haste to find it, I fell and my pumps fell off." Hearing this story, anger welled up inside me.
Oh, what the hell? I can't believe it. Well,
The rain was still pouring down in torrents while we were talking like this, and I wanted to aid the woman as soon as possible. But I also wanted to know where her white cane was, and I was angry at the heartless person who had even stolen her shoes. However, I couldn't immediately think of what to do in such a situation. After much thought, I said, "Let's go to the police station." I told her I could have asked for the woman's home address and taken her there, but I knew I would never find the white cane and I would never catch the culprit. Besides, the police station was close by, so I figured I could shield the woman from the rain once we arrived. She grabbed my arm, and a few minutes later, we arrived at the police station. When we finally arrived at the police station, I was a little nervous because it was my first time there. On the other side, the woman was explaining to the police officer what had happened in a very precise manner, which gave me the impression that she was mature. The police confirmed that it was theft or loss and promised to inform us as soon as they recovered it. They then agreed to drive her to her house in a police car, and they parted ways in front of the police station.
Thank you very much.
Yes, the woman bowed deeply to me. But at that moment, I received a phone call from my work, and I failed to say a proper goodbye. I didn't know who she was, but I was glad I could help. That's what I thought. My life, on the other hand, was in wreckage. I had abandoned my newspaper delivery job because I had prioritized helping the woman in this incident.
Several houses have complained that they haven't received it yet. You were fired.
I was fired from my job as a result. I didn't know what to do, since I no longer had a way to protect our lives and the hearts of my younger brothers and sisters. But to be honest, after considering not waking up early and sleeping till 7:00 a.m. and only going to school, which I haven't done in a long time, I honestly felt like I wanted things to go that way. But I had no time to slack off. The next day, I started looking for a new part-time job, but first, I decided to go to the train station where the woman's white walking stick and shoes had been stolen. I assumed the offender had left them there, and they were delivered as forgotten items. But there was nothing. Disappointed, I sat down on a nearby bench and searched for a part-time job on my cell. Birchnote was concerned about leaving the house late at night when my younger brother was still in elementary school, if not middle school. Didn't appear to be able to leave the hospital for some time, so I was at a loss about what to do. I have no regrets about helping that woman, but getting fired from my newspaper delivery job was really upsetting. I needed to take care of my family, but I couldn't do it. I was very embarrassed by myself. Sir, I needed to take care of my family, but I couldn't. I was very embarrassed by myself. As I was holding back the tears that were welling up in my eyes, I suddenly received a call on my cell phone.
It was the police officer from yesterday, calling to report that the white cane and shoes from yesterday were found safe and sound.
Hearing such words, I forgot about the catastrophe that had befallen me and was filled with genuine delight. Really, that's fantastic.
Yes, man, I heard that they were found in a park near the station. I was relieved to hear that they were not damaged in any way.
Both the cane and shoes were safely delivered to the woman.
The woman requested that we notify you immediately, so we did. Thank you for taking the trouble.
And she says she'd like to thank you in person.
So unexpectedly, I was to meet with the woman again the next day. The woman appeared in front of me with a white cane. The sun was shining brightly, a complete change from the other day. Her hair and clothes were not wet, and I was relieved to see that she was in good health. Hello? When I spoke to her, she confirmed where I was standing based on where my voice came from.
Thank you for what you did for me the other day. I'm sorry I didn't tell you my name when you were so helpful. My name is Abigail Smith. I'm an office worker.
Oh, don't worry, I forgot to tell you my name too. I'm Asher Thomas, I'm a high school student.
Your voice told me you were a young man, but I didn't realize you were in high school. You were so dependable that I mistakenly thought you were an adult.
I was kind of happy to hear that.
My mom is sick and our family isn't really wealthy. And I started working early because I'm the oldest son of the younger brother. That could be the reason.
I admire you. Was that a part-time job? What kind of work do you do? I admire you. Is that a part-time job? What kind of work do you do?
She asked me. I felt embarrassed to correct her, saying I was no longer working. But I couldn't, so I said, I'm not working right now. I've been delivering newspapers for quite some time, but I was recently fired.
He's hearing this. Abigail asked me where it was my fault, right?
I knew I blew it. On the way to the police box that day, I was asked why I was pushing my bicycle even though it was raining. I told her that it was because I was working part-time delivering newspapers. I should have understood that telling her I was fired at this point would make her uncomfortable. I regretted that I had not thought that far ahead and did not know how to respond. Then Abigail made a surprising remark.
Would you like to work for my company?
Yes, I never expected such words to return to me. I was so surprised that I forgot about the awkward atmosphere.
Excuse me?
Actually, I run my own company. It's a really small company, and it was small staff. I lost my eyesight when I was little, and I went through a lot of hard times, but I think I have valuable experiences that other people don't have. I'm trying to help people with disabilities because I've been through it myself.
I was sure she'd had a lot of awful experiences like the one the other day, but I felt it's awesome that Abigail overcame and is now enjoying a happy life. But I'm grateful for your offer, but I'm still in high school and my time is limited due to family matters, and I've only ever delivered newspapers, so I'd definitely be a burden. Considerate of protection, I was frightened of becoming a burden to her since I admired her, but Aunt Abigail said, don't worry about it. My job is to create a system that supports the mind and body of people with disabilities. to believe that the most important thing is not what you can or cannot do, but the desire to help someone. That day, I was so depressed, which was unusual for me, but I was really happy that you helped me that day. To that day, I was feeling unusually depressed, but I was really happy that you helped me. That's why I like you and want you to lend a hand.
But my lack of self-confidence, Abigail persuaded me several times before I accepted to work for her. I worked from the end of school on weekdays until 6:30 p.m., the dinner time, and on weekends. Well, she allowed me to take my younger brother and sister to work with me. This enabled me to continue working to turn around my life, which I had felt was hopeless.
10 years later, I am now in my mid-20s and still working for Abigail's company. The number of employees has more than tripled since I joined the company, and the work is very rewarding. My niece was discharged from the hospital and is now able to live at home after a long fight with illness. My youngest sister is now in high school, and I'm relieved to see how well they get along. My younger brother has grown up well and is attending college. I was able to accumulate money for him in high school and send him to college. He is grateful to me for that. Someday, I'll be the one to take care of you, he often tells me. However, I am still in my prime. The reason I can smile like this now is because I met Abigail.
He often tells me someday I'll be the one to take care of you. However, I am still my prime.
If I had continued to work as a newspaper delivery boy, I would have had to work very hard to make a living. But, to be honest, I'm not sure if the future would have allowed all of my family members, including myself, to smile so much. Of course, I didn't help Abigail thinking this would happen. However, it was an occurrence that taught me how caring for others may improve one's life, and I watch it and honestly hope that no matter how old I become, I can be an adult who never forgets that.